This is Channel 25 WVTT Olean. Now, from the Twin Tiers' biggest broadcast news operation, this is the 6 o'clock report with Jeff Andrulonis and Alexa Olson. Listen on News Radio 96.7 WVTT or watch on News Channel 25 WVTT television. WVTT proudly presents the 6 o'clock report.
Good evening, I'm Alexa Olson.
And I'm Jeff Andrulonis. Good evening. The person of interest in yesterday's ECMC shooting in Buffalo is still at large tonight. Dr. Timothy Jordan is accused of shooting his ex-girlfriend.
That's right, Jeff. A very sad story coming out of Buffalo yesterday. The victim is 33-year-old Jackie Wisniewski. She was a nursing student and was pronounced dead after she was shot in the head 4 times. She was shot in the covered passageway joining the hospital's kidney center and the Miller building. Police didn't comment on the motive for the crime, but said Jordan had recently suffered from emotional issues. Jordan served 18 years in the Army Special Forces and was a decorated soldier.
The topic of consolidating local schools into regional high schools in the Empire State is gaining traction tonight in Albany. Regional high school legislation sailed through the state Senate, according to State Senator Catherine Young of Olean. The senator says that students in rural areas would gain enhanced academic, sports, and enrichment opportunities that they don't have now. The senator also says that lawmakers on both sides of the aisle realize that students deserve those improvements.
Violence continues in Syria between the regime and the citizens. Ivan Watson has the latest on what some are calling a civil war.
The human rights organization Amnesty International is adding to the growing trove of disturbing evidence suggesting that the Syrian government is guilty of widespread crimes against humanity and war crimes. Its researchers snuck into the northern provinces of Idlib and Aleppo because they're not allowed by the government into the country officially. And they visited some 23 towns and acquired a list of the names of more than 10,000 people they say have been killed since this uprising began some 15 months ago. Amnesty says they came up with evidence that hundreds of people had been killed at short distance by Syrian security forces. And in visiting these towns and villages, they got widespread eyewitness accounts of people whose relatives had been captured and then killed by Syrian security forces. More than 1,500 homes and businesses torched by the Syrian security forces. And in particular, they say that the field clinics, those medical clinics, were targeted by the Syrian security forces. Amnesty is calling for a number of sanctions, immediate arms embargo imposed against Syrian security forces, particularly for Russia and China, to stop arms sales and deliveries, a freeze of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's assets, as well as the assets of his close associates, and finally the referral of Syria to the International Criminal Court, that same institution that recently convicted another strongman found guilty of crimes against humanity, the Liberian president, former president, Charles Taylor. Meanwhile, more reports of violence on the ground. We've seen live internet stream feeds organized by activists from the city of Homs, the neighborhood of Chaldea, with buildings apparently burning due to artillery fire. And we've talked to a resident of the Damascus suburb of Douma, who says for the second straight day now his city is coming under artillery fire. He said he couldn't go to work today because Syrian security forces have closed the roads out of that suburb, and he's afraid of being grabbed by Syrian security forces, who he claims are rounding up people at random and arresting them. Ivan Watson, CNN, Istanbul.
Day 4 of the Jerry Sandusky child sex abuse trial continuing today in Bellefonte outside State College. And Judge John Cleland of Kane and McKean County, who's hearing the case, is moving things along quickly. More on that story coming up as the 6 o'clock report continues on News Channel 25 WVTT.